Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into strengths-based development. You know, that idea that maybe instead of fixing all our flaws, the path to success is honing in on what we're already good at. And our guide for this deep dive is StrengthsFinder 2.0 by Tom Rath.
Great choice.
Yeah.
It really pushes back against that fix your weaknesses mentality.
Which, let's be honest, can be exhausting.
Totally.
It's like, remember being a kid and everyone's like, you can be anything you want to be. But what if my version of being Michael Jordan is, well, still Emmy, just excelling at things I'm actually good at?
Exactly. StrengthsFinder digs into that, how this focus on weaknesses makes us fight ourselves almost.
Yeah.
Like, it reminds you of Rudy inspirational story, right?
Mm.
But all that effort, years of it, for a few seconds on the field.
Not exactly a recipe for everyone's success.
Right. The book's argument is that when we operate in our strength zone, where our talents and what we love line up, we're not just happier, we're way more productive too.
Makes sense. So how do we find this magical zone?
Well, Gallup, they do tons of workplace research, and they found that when employees get to use their strengths, they're 6 times more likely to be engaged at work.
6 times. Okay, now I'm listening. How'd they even measure that? Did they just, ask people if they were having fun?
It's more sophisticated than that. They look at how dedicated people are, how passionate, even their overall well-being.
So it's really about thriving, not just, getting through the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sadly, they found that a huge number of people don't get to work in their strength zone. Something like 70%, which
Well, that's most people then.
millions and millions feeling undervalued, not able to use their actual talents.
That's a huge loss, not just for them, but for their companies, too. Okay, before we go further, let's define something. The book talks about talent versus strength. Can you break that down?
Sure. Talent, think of it like the raw material. That natural knack you have for something. Could be problem solving, connecting with people, whatever. It only becomes a strength when you actually invest in it.
So it's not like I get a gold star that says natural born communicator. It's more like, hey, you've got potential, now put in the work.
Exactly. StrengthsFinder is all about that potential. It's not static. It's about you understanding what you're naturally drawn to and then putting in the time, the effort to make it a real strength.
Like that saying, maybe it was Einstein, about genius being 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
Totally. Hard work is key. Think of it as a formula. Your talent times the investment you make, that's what equals your true strength.
So where do we even start? I feel like sometimes we're so busy trying to be good at everything that we forget what we're truly great at.
And that's the cool part. StrengthsFinder has this assessment based on tons of research that helps you figure out your top strengths based on what you're naturally good at.
So it's like a personalized map guiding you towards your strengths.
Is it?
This is starting to sound less like self-help and more like a treasure hunt, which I'm totally here for.
And get this, it doesn't just give you a list of generic strengths, it goes deeper. You get personalized insights tailored to your specific combination of talents.
Wait, so it's not just you're a good communicator, it's like, here's what makes your communication style so unique.
You got it. They're called Strengths Insights, and there are over 5,000 of them.
5,000.
Yeah, they paint a really detailed picture of how your talents make you you.
Okay, now that is cool. But before we get too far, let's talk about weaknesses for a sec. We've all got them, right? Does this whole strength thing mean we just, ignore them completely?
That's a good question. StrengthsFinder isn't about pretending weaknesses don't exist. It's about being smart with your energy.
Working smarter, not just harder.
Exactly. It's recognizing that your time is valuable and your efforts are best spent on your strengths, where you can really excel.
It's like that saying, delegate your weaknesses, right? If you're terrible at organizing, maybe just get a really good planner instead of battling spreadsheets at midnight.
Perfect example. StrengthsFinder talks about that, actually. Managing weaknesses. There's this one tip. I love this one. It's called avoidance.
Avoidance. Just don't do the stuff I'm bad at. Sign me up.
Well, obviously there are limits. But the idea is if something just drains you, if it's tapping into a weakness, can you restructure things so you face it less often?
So, delegate it, get someone else to do it, or just avoid it completely.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But what about when you can't avoid it? Say, public speaking is my worst nightmare, but my job needs it sometimes.
That's where having systems comes in. You mentioned the planner, same idea. If it's public speaking, maybe you hire a coach, or you practice like crazy with a friend till you're less nervous.
So not erasing the weakness, just having a plan to deal with it so it doesn't derail me.
Exactly. You're playing to your strengths, but with support for the weaknesses. But even with strengths, we got to be careful. The book talks about these things called blind spots.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, basically, it's where even our strengths can trip us up if we're not paying attention.
I've totally had that. Like, I'm enthusiastic, but sometimes it comes across as too much if I'm not reading the room right.
Exactly. That's a blind spot in action.
Okay, so how do we not let our strengths turn into weaknesses?
Self-awareness is huge. StrengthsFinder says to really think about how your strengths show up, the good and the bad. Getting feedback from people you trust helps too. They can spot those blind spots.
True, sometimes you need that outside perspective.
Totally. It's an ongoing thing, this self-awareness. But okay, let's get back to those strengths insights we mentioned. This is where it gets really cool. Remember how we said it's not just what your strengths are, but what makes your version of them unique?
Yeah, the whole 5,000 personalized insights thing still blows my mind.
Okay, so imagine this. Let's say one of your top strengths is learner. Lots of people have that one. A generic description might say, like, you love learning new stuff, you get energized by it. Which, okay, fine.
But kind of basic, right? I mean, that's like everyone who likes to learn.
Exactly. But with strength insights, you get a way more specific breakdown. So instead of that general statement, it might say you're drawn to super complex challenges, you learn Beth with lots of different viewpoints, and D, you're great at connecting ideas that seem totally unrelated at first.
Okay. Yeah, that's way more helpful than just you like to learn. It's like this is how your brain is wired to learn best.
Right. And the book has tons of these examples, super insightful and actually useful. They show you how your specific talents make you successful and how to use them even better.
Okay, hold on. I gotta know. How do they figure out all this stuff? It's like they're reading minds or something.
If only. It's all based on their research, years and years of it.
Yeah.
When you take the StrengthsFinder assessment, your answers get analyzed and compared to a huge database of other people's responses.
So they're finding patterns, seeing what makes people who share a strength similar, but also what makes them different.
Exactly. And the cool part is, these strengths insights aren't just fun facts about yourself. They're really valuable tools for, well, everything.
So instead of just a label, it's like personalized instructions for how to use my brain, basically.
Exactly. And that's so useful when you think about it, like sticking with that learner strength. Knowing your style can change how you approach everything. If you do best working with others, maybe you find a mentor or join some industry group. But if you're all about those tough problems, maybe it's an online course or volunteering for a project that really stretches you.
It's like instead of just wandering around in the dark, someone gave you a flashlight and said, go explore over there. That's where you'll shine.
I love that. And the cool thing is, this doesn't just help us individually, it can help us build better teams too.
How so?
Well, imagine you're on a project, right? And you know someone on your team, their strength is strategic. They're amazing at the big picture, seeing problems before they happen. Knowing that might make you bring them in early, get their input on stuff.
Instead of just Bob from marketing, it's Bob, our secret weapon against budgeting disasters.
Exactly. You see everyone's talents, what they bring to the table. Makes things way more fun and productive too.
And StrengthsFinder doesn't just tell you this stuff, it gives you ways to actually use it, right? Like in real life, not just theory.
Totally. It's full of tips, stories about how people use their strengths to do amazing things. Remember that general example from earlier? This book is like helping us all be the generals of our own lives, figuring out how to lead ourselves best.
I love that. So to sum up for everyone listening, self-improvement, it doesn't have to be a drag.
Huh.
This strengths approach, it's like this exciting adventure figuring out what you're already great at and running with it.
Absolutely. When we focus on those strengths where we naturally shine, that's how we unlock not just success, but being truly fulfilled in every part of life.
So true. And as you're exploring your strengths, we'll leave you with this. What are TH3 areas where if you totally excelled at them, it transformed your life? Write those down, let them rattle around in your brain, see where you end up. That's all I got time for in this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, happy exploring.